All right, you guys, welcome back to the channel. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like the video, share. We got some knowledge. I was laughing at this when I was reading this at work earlier. Now I'm at home. So the mystery of the pedophile who hired out Disneyland. What's funny to me is he's a pervert and Disney is a perverted organization. Even though they made some of the best childhood movies, animations, and films in the early 90s and even before that. I loved Mickey Mouse as a kid, but it goes far beyond that with the people behind it. But enough of Walt Disney. We're going to talk about this dude right here. But Jacky Jhaj, he's a sex offender, registered and subject to restrictions on his activities. When it emerged that last weekend, a convicted pedophile had organized a fake wedding to a 9-year-old at Disneyland in Paris. Many people were perplexed. Who would do such a thing? How was it even possible? The BBC understands it was the latest bizarre stunt by Jacky Jhaj, a British man I have been investigating for 2 years. He first came to my attention after a tip-off from a teenage girl who came out of the blue in 2023. So basically, he has a track record. So she was horrified that she had come face to face with a pedophile who she had hired to fawn over. Wow. She was too terrified of him to go on the record, but I tracked down a number of aspiring actors who had also been directed to scream at Jhaj while he was parading down the red carpet and reach out to try and touch. Oh, wow. Yeah, he looked like a weirdo. Weirdos wear these type of hairstyles. Wow. In all, 200 children and young women have been recruited by reputable casting agencies to play Jhaj fans at a fake film premiere in London's Leicester Square that year. Some were as young as 6. Towards the end of the event, someone recognizing Jhaj, who had previously been found guilty of sexual activity with 2 15-year-olds in 2016 and sent to prison. Damn, he really got some mental issues. The fake red carpet was one of the... Wow. That's too funny. It was one of the fake litany stunts he has organized since the release, which often involving casting girls as his fans. So he has connections with the other perverts. Good for him. Let's see what he's about. Jacky Jhaj at the Leicester Square event in 2023. I don't know. Yeah, homeboy look creepy for sure. What a creep. All have been organized at great expense while he was on the sex offenders registers and subject to restrictions on his activities. For the mock wedding at Disneyland Paris, a 9-year-old Ukrainian girl who was flown in to play his bride. Oh, she was flown in. Wow, kid. It's not sounding too good. The theme park can be privately rented out. Ooh, I didn't even know you could rent out the whole park. Well, I guess money talks, right? But outside of its opening hours, and actors have been booked at great cost to be there. One received £10,000. The BBC understands that Jacky Jhaj, 39, who is from West London, has now been charged by French authorities in connection with organizing the event. Wow. That's crazy how you get charged in another country for something. So, over the past 2 years, I've set out to try and understand how he has been able to carry out these stunts and why there are not more stringent rules preventing them. Many have taken place at high-profile British landmarks, including the British Museum, which is free. I don't know if it still is because I went to it 10 years ago. It was the first international trip I've taken. And back then, I was about, oh, wow. I was almost 30 then, so I'm old. So anyway... Okay, the Royal Exchange in London and the University of Oxford. Wow, he went to all the big venues. They also typically involve young people being hired to act as his fans in elaborate productions. What the hell, he hired all kids. What a weirdo. That's a fine car you got right there though. Looks like a Lambo or something. So this was Jhaj when he was filming a parent who recognized him from a BBC investigation talking with young people outside dance auditions in 2024. So that was last year. So videos of some of them were uploaded to YouTube channel, which was watched more than 6 million times and had 12 million subscribers. Wow, so he's pretty big. Many remained on YouTube for years until last September when the BBC alerted Google, which owns the platform. Duh. A video on a separate channel showed him next to one of the victims he was convicted of sexual assault with her face and anonymized, hidden. It had remained on YouTube for 4 years with more than 1 million views. So that YouTube channel was making some money, besides being taxed a lot. But Google told the BBC at the time that it takes users' safety seriously, but offered no explanation as to how an account featured a man with almost no profile or success had 12 million subscribers, or why the videos had not been previously removed. Clips on social media sites appear to cast Jhaj as a successful writer and a singer and are often styled as music videos. So wow, they made it, wow, it's just a facade. That's crazy. So basically, it was a faceless account. That's crazy. It's not clear of the weapons Jacky Jhaj holds up in the music videos. They don't know if it's real or fake. Many are highly concerning, some featuring him posing with children and weapons. It is not clear if the guns are real or fake. Others reveal in his infamy. In one, he is greeted by fans apparently celebrating his release from Wormwood Scrubs in prison. Wormwood. That don't even sound good. That sounds sexual. I wanted to know how he had organized the stunts and if he had received help. It sounded like he did. Come on now. Inside jobs. We don't know what media company he paid off to pull this through. But when you have connections, you can get away with freaky shit. So over the past 2 years, I have spoken to videographers, production assistants, and technicians who were hired for some of the events before they discovered Jhaj's real identity. A fucking pervert. One man repeatedly appears in videos they shared with me. We have been sent images and footage of him at 3 of the stunts by people who described him as assisting the choreographer hired for dance auditions and apparently filming. So this is him confronted by cast members as the man Jhaj was a friend. Wow. He looks a lot different in those pictures up there. Big ass BBC van in the background. Got the London police. Yeah, it's a lot going on just in that picture alone. He has some explaining to do. Yeah, he's kind of like a young Michael Jackson. That's what it seemed like. I'm not saying that Michael Jackson did that shit back in the day, but he gives off that wacko jacko vibe. At a different event last year, he was confronted by duped cast members who recognized Jhaj from our reports and showed him on the online article. The cast members filmed him acknowledging that Jhaj is a convicted sex offender, but he says he is a friend and is now free. Yeah. At this event, Jhaj was filmed posing naked in front of the mocked up BBC News lorry in London, which had been set on fire. For what? Jhaj had initially appeared there disguised by prosthetics before he removed them and was identified as the man from our story. Preliminary findings from the French prosecutor also said that makeup artists had allegedly changed the organizer's facial features dramatically at the Disneyland event. And that's what I've been noticing in these different pictures on this post. He looks different in every picture. His face looks fuller there, and then he's more skinnier there. So, how Jhaj funds his stunts, which involve extraordinary costs on venue hire, cast, and props, is a mystery. Yeah, it looks like a lot of money. This ain't no low budget production shit, stunts. So Run Production hired a tank while another mock police car was set on fire. The booking of Disneyland Paris alone would have cost more than 130,000 pounds. I'm sorry, 130,000 euros, which is equal to 110,000 pounds, which means pounds is worth more than euros and US dollars. According to the French broadcaster BFM-TV, I was also told that hiring the red carpet space that is home of movie premieres in La Siesta Square would have required tens of thousands of pounds. So yeah, we're talking about big money here. I also wanted to know how he had been able to carry out these events while subject to a sexual harm prevention order. That's what I'm saying. If he had all these charges before, how was he able to even do all this? We have seen a copy of it. It lists 10 restrictions on his activities, but does not appear to approximately prohibit the stunts he had organized. The order restricts Jhaj from contracting his previous victims, entering public places for the use of children, and deliberately contacting any girl under the age of 16. However, there is no blanket ban on hosting events with children under 16 if they are supervised. Oh, so that's how. As was the case with La Siesta Square stunt, where some adults attended as chaperones. So, wow. And that's him standing in front of the BBC. That's the stunt car that was set on fire. This is a costly stunt, by the way. So this is a fake BBC News trailer. Okay. I also want to know if anyone was responsible for monitoring convicted pedophiles. Following my first report, a police officer who helped monitor Jhaj rang me, asked for information on his movements. He said he was responsible for managing the whereabouts of dozens of sex offenders, and it was challenging work. Of course, that's not easy work. The National Police Chiefs Council advised the minimum staffing levels at which pedophiles should be monitored is 1 officer to every 50 offenders. What? 1 officer for every 50 offenders. The Metropolitan Police's average offender management ratio was 1 officer to 40 offenders, well within the benchmark. That's crazy. I asked other officers the ratios where, and some never replied. About 10 to 26 forces failed to meet the benchmark, according to Freedom of Information. I mean, they have other stuff to worry about. At one force, officers were responsible for monitoring 85 offenders each on average. Wow, that's crazy. But successfully managing 50 sex offenders is impossible, according to Jonathan Taylor, a safeguarding expert and former child abuse investigator. I feel so sorry for the officers, he says. It is a poison chalice. One of the pedophiles will reoffend. Yeah, and you have to look after 50 of them. So this case also highlights concerns about a lack of safeguarding in entertainment and tech companies enabling these type of offenders. The BBC understands that Jhaj is currently detained in French custody. The local prosecutor there says the Ukrainian girl involved in the Saturday stunt had not been a victim of either physical or sexual violence and had not been forced to play the role of a bride. His statement also said Disneyland Paris had been deceived and that the organizer had used a fake Latvian ID to hire the venue. Wow. So it's a scam. The BBC approached Disneyland Paris for comment, but they did not respond. Of course they're not going to respond because they fucking perverts. But the Metropolitan Police said that 39-year-old man wanted by breaching restrictions placed on his activities and is also separate from being investigated for any possible fraud offenses. So yeah, it's fraud and being a predator, a sexual predator. So those are 2 different charges they can get him on. So we got a 40-year-old pervert going around getting away with filming stunts. Fucking weirdo. Ay. Yep, that's the world we live in. 2 things that sells. So it's all about money, sex, and drugs. That's what the world runs off of. And sex always sells, sadly. That's why so many of these girls end up in sex work, OnlyFans, some kind of sex, some kind of working girl activity. But there's nothing you could do if you got daughters. Keep an eye out on them. This is Kylie Vale. I'll catch you next video. Peace.